we do? Q&A?
Thank you. I work very hard to keep a good Kansas conservative voting record, but I want to make sure that everyone in this district, Republican, Democrat, Independent, knows that I'm a voice for everyone in Kansas. And we listen to everyone. And we do all that we can to ensure that we collaborate and find solutions. We may not always agree with parts of the district, but I make sure that I listen to them and that I work to find a solution that is best for our entire country. I believe that solution starts with our good Kansas conservative Republican values. And so I'm proud to be that voice in Washington, that voice we didn't have for a long time, that believes in limited government, believes in freedom and opportunity, and that our rights don't come from government, but they're protected by government. And that we don't rely on a big government solution, we rely on the heart and soul of the individual people in Kansas. And that's the big difference. And that's what we're fighting over, and that's why it matters that we send a voice that believes in our Kansas conservative principles. And so I've been thinking about what's that 2016 look like, and what are some of the principles that I want to make sure we're all behind as we move forward. And I guess I thought of maybe 4 areas that we could bring our minds together on today. Number 1, I believe that we have to stay grounded in who we are and what we stood for when we got elected. Far too often when you get a majority, you think, well, we can't do the things we are elected to do because we might lose our majority, that we might give up something we achieved because we fought too hard for what we got elected to do. That's exactly the opposite approach we should take, and far too often that's the sense of a majority. And so we've got to stay grounded in who we are. We've got to contrast with the Democratic Party. The media has this position that the Republican Party is just focused on how they support the rich, or how they help the Tea Party, or whatever it is, and that they're not looking out for everyone. Yet I know that our limited government, individual values, that's where the majority of Americans are. And there's no reason to turn away from the values that got us to this position. There's no reason to turn away from the reason that voters came out to support us. Secondly, I think we have to focus on how we grow the tent. How do we expand the tent? How do we bring in new voters? Who are the people out there that don't think we stand up for their issues? Quite often the media wants the folks in this country to assume that Republicans don't care about education, we don't care about health care, that we don't care about any income inequality, that we have no solutions for those issues, that we're focused on maybe only one angle of those issues. When in fact, we believe that the best way to defeat income inequality, the best way to grow our economy, the best way to expand paychecks is through conservative principles. And that income inequality is being created by a bloated government with lots of bureaucracy, lots of regulation, lots of taxes, because we know at the end of the day, those liberal policies, you know who pays for those? It's hardworking Americans. I like to use the example of the EPA in Wyandotte County. The EPA, the Board of Public Utilities being regulated by the EPA in Wyandotte County. So the Board of Public Utilities, it's a public utility there in Wyandotte, it's in the 3rd District. They have come under a new EPA regulation that will require a $250 million set of modifications to their energy facilities. $250 million. Now who pays for that? The people of Wyandotte County. A county that's one of the poorest in the state, being hit with an unfunded mandate from Washington, D.C. with a price tag of $250 million. Now I go around Wyandotte County and I ask people, what's your top priority for the next $250 million we spend here? Is it schools? Is it curbs? Is it gutters? Is it first responders, firemen, public safety, infrastructure? Or is it an unfunded mandate from the EPA? Do you know I've yet to have one person tell me an unfunded mandate from the EPA is their top priority? It just doesn't come up. Yet that's what the big bloated federal government that, frankly, the president's won that county every time, that's what the big bloated federal government wants to be the top priority for that community. They're not going to pay for it. They're going to require these folks in Wyandotte. And so what does that mean to a regular person in Wyandotte County? It's a 20% rate increase every month going forward for every ratepayer in Wyandotte County. Now, if you're a family of 4 living under the poverty line, you think a 20% hit on your electric bill doesn't hit you in the pocketbook? Of course it does. I think third of all, we've got to work together. We can't spend our time attacking one another. And we need to put solutions, fourth of all, on the table. There's a lot of bills, a lot of ideas out there that we all have. I just sat down with Lloyd Hanna and others last week talking about the fair tax. Let's start debating these issues. Let's get creative. Let's put policies on the table and have a vigorous debate about the issues that matter to the American people. Yeah, we may not pass them all. Sometimes you got to break a few eggs. But I think the American people will appreciate a functional government that addresses issues, even if they're not always successful in their efforts to do so.